This is a Panasonic handset. It's one of two phones that was given to me by an auto mechanic that dropped it on the floor and the screen doesn't work anymore. And since they only have two in the shop, he'd really like to have this one back as soon as possible. The screen no longer works. He does have a replacement screen that he did give to me, but he didn't know how to put it in. So that's what we're going to try and do once I can get this phone opened up. The question is, how do we open it without breaking anything? So, yeah, it's a little bit tricky, but we'll get it figured out. Okay, now that we've finally got the phone open, this is what we found inside. This is where the ribbon cable for the screen was attached. Obviously, it's pulled away, so I don't really know what we have here as far as damage goes. Just going to clean up these pads and see if everything is still intact so we can reattach the new ribbon cable to the existing pads. So just want to give it a good thorough cleaning, being careful not to damage anything, and see what we have once we get it all cleaned up. Okay, so now that we've got the pads all nice and clean, it's time to prep them for solder. Now, the trick here is to put down enough flux that you can actually float the tip of the solder iron, over the pads and apply solder, but without actually scraping the pads. The idea is to just float above the pads and let the solder occupy each pad without creating any bridges.
Whoa! This is so much fun, it's freaky!
So now I just want to give this a nice thorough cleaning and get ready to put the new ribbon in place. So this is the replacement screen with the connector attached to it, and I'm using a old style soldering iron. It's a 60-watt iron with a special attachment that would allow me to bond the ribbon to the pads without melting the connector. So I'm just going to put it, anchor it in a holder, and then we'll get ready to attach the connector to the board itself. Okay, now that I know it's soldered in place. I'm just going to give it a quick check to make sure it's working. And it looks good. So now what I'd like to do is give it a little extra reinforcement. Since I can't really use any heat on this, I don't want to melt the ribbon itself. So I elected to use a little bit of solder mask to give it a little extra bond to keep it on the board. Hopefully it doesn't get dropped again. So this is just a little extra insurance. And this I know won't cause any damage because it gets cured with an ultraviolet light. And now that I've given it enough time to cure, it's time that reassemble the phone. Sounds easy, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh boy, is this great!
I don't know why it is, but it always seems like when you take something apart, it's a lot easier than when you try to reassemble it. Which is why in some more complicated cases, we take pictures as we go. Here I'm fortunate enough to have the video to play back in case I need it, but eventually we'll get it figured out. Okay, so now I finally got that all figured out. Now all I have left to do is solder the speaker wires back to the board, and then we can complete the reassembly process. Finally.
What's this over here?
You never heard of grits?
Sure, I heard of grits. I just actually never seen a grit before.
And that's pretty much it. It's all back together. It's working. New screen. It's good to go. All fixed.